And Mother Shipton's collection of prophecies was sprinting out of the shops. Each of the great London publishers, there were 8 of them, had at least one book of prophecy on its list. Every single one of the books was wildly inaccurate, but their air of vague and generalised omnipotence made them immensely popular. They sold in the thousands and in the tens of thousands. "It is a licence to print money," said Master Bilton to Master Skaggs, who had already had a few thoughts in that direction and spent the last years of his life in Newgate Prison when he eventually put them into practice. "The public are crying out for such rubbish. We must straightway print a book of prophecy by some hag." The manuscript arrived at their door the next morning. The author's sense of timing, as always, was exact. Although neither Master Bilton nor Master Skaggs realised it, the manuscript they had been sent was the sole prophetic work in all of human history to consist entirely of completely correct predictions concerning the following 340 odd years, being a precise and accurate description of the events that would culminate in Armageddon. It was on the money in every single detail. It was published by Bilton and Skaggs in September 1655, in good time for the Christmas trade. Another masterstroke of publishing genius, because Oliver Cromwell's Puritan Parliament had made Christmas illegal in 1654. And it was the first book printed in England to be remaindered. It didn't sell. Not even the copy in the tiny Lancashire shop with "local author" on a piece of cardboard next to it. The author of the book, one Agnes Nutter, was not surprised by this. But then it would have taken an awful lot to surprise Agnes Nutter. Anyway, she had not written it for the sales or the royalties or even for the fame. She had written it for the single gratis copy of the book that an author was entitled to. No one knows what happened to the legions of unsold copies of her book. Certainly none remain in any museums or private collections. Even Aziraphale does not possess a copy, but would go weak at the knees at the thought of actually getting his exquisitely manicured hands on one. In fact, only one copy of Agnes Nutter's prophecies remained in the entire world. It was on a bookshelf about 40 miles away from where Crowley and Aziraphale were enjoying a rather good lunch, and, metaphorically, it had just begun to tick. And now it was 3 o'clock. The Antichrist had been on earth for 15 hours, and one angel and one demon had been drinking solidly for 3 of them. They sat opposite one another in the back room of Aziraphale's dingy old bookshop in Soho. Most bookshops in Soho have back rooms, and most of the back rooms are filled with rare, or at least very expensive, books. But Aziraphale's books didn't have illustrations. They had old brown covers and crackling pages. Occasionally, if he had no alternative, he'd sell one. And occasionally, serious men in dark suits would come calling and suggest, very politely, that perhaps he'd like to sell the shop itself, so that it could be turned into the kind of retail outlet more suited to the area. Sometimes they'd offer cash in large rolls of grubby £50 notes. Or sometimes, while they were talking, other men in dark glasses would wander around the shop, shaking their heads and saying, how inflammable paper was and what a fire trap he had here. And Aziraphale would nod and smile and say that he'd think about it. And then they go away. And they never come back. Just because you're an angel doesn't mean you have to be a fool. The table in front of the two of them was covered with bottles. "The point is," said Crowley, the point is, he tried to focus on Aziraphale. "The point is," he said, and tried to think of a point. "The point I'm trying to make," he said, brightening, "is the dolphins. That's my point." "Kind of fish," said Aziraphale. No, said Crowley, shaking a finger. "It's a mammal. Your actual mammal. Difference is," Crowley waded through the swamp of his mind and tried to remember the difference. "Difference is they mate out of water," volunteered Aziraphale. Crowley's brow furrowed. "Don't think so. Pretty sure that's not it. Something about the young, whatever." He pulled himself together. The point is their brains." He reached for a bottle. "What about their brains?" said the angel. "Big brains. That's my point. Size of damn big brains. And then there's the whales. Brain city, take it from me. A whole damn sea full of brains." "Kraken," said Aziraphale, staring moodily into his glass. Crowley gave him the long, cool look of someone who had just had a girder dropped in front of his train of thought. "Huh?" "Great big bugger," said Aziraphale. "Sleepeth beneath the thunders of the upper deep, under loads of huge and unnumbered bloody great seaweeds, supposed to rise to the surface right at the end when the sea boils. Yeah? Fact. There you are then," said Crowley, sitting back. "Whole sea bubbling, poor old dolphin, so much seafood gumbo, no one giving a damn. Same with the gorillas. Whoops, they say, sky gone all red, stars crashing to ground. What are they putting in the bananas these days? And then they make nests, gorillas," said the angel, pouring another drink and managing to hit the glass on the third go. "Nah. God's truth. Saw a film. Nests." "Us birds," said Crowley. "Nests," insisted Aziraphale. Crowley decided not to argue the point. "There you are then," he said. "All creatures great and small. Great and small. A lot of them with brains. And then, bazam." "But you're part of it," said Aziraphale. "You tempt people. You're good at it." Crowley thumped his glass on the table. "That's different. They don't have to say yes. That's the ineffable bit, right? Your side made it up. You've got to keep testing people, but not to destruction. All right. I don't like it any more than you, but I told you, I can't not do what I'm told. I'm an angel.